So continuing, we have another celebrity endorsing marijuana. Now, legendary actor Morgan Freeman has been in the press lately talking about, his fibromyalgia has been acting up for years, and something that helps him is marijuana. So he said recently, it doesn't matter if I snort it, drink it, eat it, I love it. Morgan is very obsessed with his marijuana. Talk about, America needs to legalize. And I'm thinking, not a user, but, if it does take away people's pain, why not? Let Morgan do what Morgan wants to do. I'm shocked that he's kind of out there as much, considering he's an older man. Generally, I would think, most of the people that I see marijuana advocates are, 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s. They're not really older people. So, I mean, if the marijuana helps you get through your, your cancer or your pain or this and that, why not? It doesn't do anything to me. So, Morgan, good for you. If you want to smoke a blunt before your movie, hey, who am I to tell you? So moving on, I definitely want to talk about politics in this hour of the show, because I think at this point, all the people running, they got something to say. Now, one of the guys I'm really watching is Mike Huckabee from Arkansas, Republican candidate. He's running for president. Now, he in the last election, he had 8 states go his way. So I don't think that's that bad. He has a big base. The thing is, he wrote a book a couple months ago called God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. And in this book, Mr. Huckabee really took a shot at my part of the country. And the folks in Hollywood also. He said, us folks in the Northeast are, liberal. We're godless. We don't respect the values. We curse too much. And I just want to say, Mr. Huckabee, I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, I agree with blunt and curse. Yes, I'm blunt, and I do curse. I'm not denying that. A lot of us up north, we're more blunt, and we don't, And we say what we want to say. I don't have an issue with that. My problem with your book, simply put, is that you kind of made us all sound like we're a bunch of yuppies who are scared of guns and don't like Southern people. So I want to clear that up. I'm not a yuppie. That's number one. People say, yuppie. I don't go to Starbucks. Like you said, latte drinking. I drink a latte, but I don't go to Starbucks. I don't spend $5 on a cup of coffee. I think I've been to Starbucks twice in my entire life, and I'm 31. So I'm definitely not a yuppie. Guns, when it comes to guns, the thing is people don't understand. If you're not from the Northeast, you would think, they hate guns in the Northeast. It's not that we hate guns in the Northeast. It's that if you grow up in New York City, Philadelphia, or Jersey, and you see the way people are, we're more high-strung, we're blunt, we will get angry a little bit faster. Giving everybody a gun that's blunt and high-strung, that's a little dangerous. Even me, like if you get me a gun, there's some people I don't like. I don't want a gun. Just being honest, we're not afraid of guns. Like, for instance, and you have this misconception that people in the Northeast don't hunt and don't fish. People think this all the time. Let me educate you fellas on a little something. South Jersey, is the suburbs and the woods and a little bit of the beach. Most of the people live in South Jersey. A good amount of them are sportsmen. There's rednecks, there's sportsmen, there's fishermen, whatever you want to call it. Same thing with New York State. People think New York City is all of New York. No, New York State is mountains, woods, streams. I mean, there's a lot of rednecks, there's a lot of hunters. Like, for instance, like you talk about the South, you guys have God, and you're so much more moral. I was like, look, let me tell you something. I'm going to use an analogy here. I've been in Richmond for 2 years now, and I'm a comedian. I participated in the Richmond comedy scene here a little bit. I did a series on YouTube where I interviewed called Richmond's Best Comics. It was on for 3 seasons. I had some fun. But I never really felt like I belonged here. Partly because I'm mixed race. I'm white and Hispanic. Always felt a little weird. And secondly, because people are not very open here. I never knew where I stood. Honestly, never did. And I think part of it is racism, and the other part of it is you guys keep it hush-hush. And that's why Northerners like me would think, well, These Southerners are hiding things. They're not blunt. They're not straightforward. They like to hide things. And I think you're going to, characterize my neck of the woods and Hollywood people as yuppies and this and that. I'll characterize you. I think a lot of Southern people are racist, behind the times about 40 years, and don't know anything about different cultures. And I'm going to preface that by saying I live in the beginning of the South. I live in Richmond, Virginia. Ask the typical Richmonder the difference between a Puerto Rican and a Mexican, or Chinese and Japanese. Their jaws are going to drop because they don't know the difference. Not at all. They seem to think that all Asians are Chinese and all Latinos are Mexican, which is not the case. I'm a Latino. I have not one drop of Mexican blood. And if you call me a Mexican, I might get offended. So, it is what it is. I will say, you're going to portray us as this, and that. Well, I could do the same thing. I could say Southern people are racist, obsessed with guns, and are always in church. But you're always in church, but what are you doing? I notice a lot of you guys and gals like to talk shit about people behind their back for most of the, go on and on and on. And then on Sunday, you want to go to church and you want forgiveness. See, I don't do that. And that's one thing that bothered me about Richmond and the comedy scene specifically. They like to talk, behind your back. Now, in Jersey, people will talk behind your back. But eventually, the person you're talking about is going to come talk to you and say, hey, I hear you're saying I'm a piece of shit, or I'm a bad guy, or I'm this and that. Say it to my face. That's it. And then if there's a fight, there's a fight. But I noticed that with a lot of the Christians here. They like to insult people behind their back. Backhanded compliments, a lot of, bless your heart type stuff that they do down here. And then on Sunday they want forgiveness. See, I don't do that. Anything I'll say behind your back, I'll say right to your face. And I've always been like that. Any opinions I have about people, and it's no secret. Some of the people in the comedy scene here are a bunch of douchebags. Some of the promoters in the comedy scene here are a bunch of douchebags. They know who they are. I'm not going to sit here and just name names, because that's not me. But if you come out here and you see what I saw, especially if you're from the Northeast or Hollywood, and I've had some friends come out here from Hollywood to assess what's going on, and the Northeast just come in and occasionally watch. They've even said, you don't want to start out here. You don't want to spend your time here. You don't want to develop an act for what? Develop an act for a bunch of douchebags? Nah. It's what it is. But getting back to Huckabee, for you to say they were all a certain way, would you like me to say that all you guys down south are a certain way? Because what I've experienced so far, it hasn't really been that good. That's why I'm moving to Florida. I'd rather, Florida is the South, but I'm moving to South Florida. It's much more New York than it is the South. There's a lot of Jews, Italians, Latinos. It's different. I'd rather move to South Florida. Maybe it's going to be better for me, I don't know, but I'm a straightforward, honest person, and I can be blunt. Here it's not popular, and he said it himself, my neck of the woods and his neck of the woods are completely different. They are. But like I said, if you want to be the President of the United States, Mr. Huckabee, what you need to do is you need to experience life away from where you're from. Yeah, you spent 6 years in New York working for Fox, but you didn't like it. You said the women curse too much and people are too blunt. Let me tell you something, sir. People are too blunt up north. That's how we do things. That's how we survive. If you guys down south, you want to screw people over behind their back and say a bunch of stuff, that's your decision. But realize that knocking somebody behind their back and treating people like dirt is not really a way to build lasting friendship, and I learned that. I'd rather be honest with somebody. They don't like me, they don't like me. I never knew where I stood down here. I never have known where I stood. It's usually back home, you know where you stand with a northerner, we're straight up like, I don't like you. I don't want you here. But they won't even talk to you. I would rather you not talk to me than you make a bunch of polite conversation. And, at the end of the day, you hate my guts. And I'm hearing from 5 other people you hate me, but in the street you want to be polite. That goes to anybody who does that shit. If you do that shit, that's for you. You in the street, you're nice and cordial, but then behind my back, you're running away. Like, look, that's anywhere. And I'll say, Mr. Huckabee, if you want to be president, God bless you, but I think you need to learn, get around different people. And if you want to shit on LA, shit on LA. But understand that those people are never going to support you. Some of them might actually agree with you, because people always think, well, people from the Northeast are all liberal and people from Hollywood are all liberal. Not necessarily. There's a decent sized pocket in both those places that is conservative. They just don't really go out there and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, because they know it's going to alienate people. But there is. I've met many. They're like, well, I don't think, these politicians are doing a good job. And they refer to Barack Obama or other people, and they say that, they're not fans. The Fox News watchers, the people that read the Wall Street Journal, a lot of them, they're conservatives. They exist. They exist in my neck of the woods. They exist in Hollywood. Obviously, they dominate the South. So I just want to say, Mr. Huckabee, really assess where you're trying to go with this, because writing a book that buries major portions of the country because you don't agree with them, I don't think that's a great idea to really jumpstart your presidential campaign. So we'll move on to another topic.